Stacy, I have one more question for you too. Did you, get the, let me go back here.
Oh, I didn't know. I'll go grab it for you.
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Please join me for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome and thank you everybody for coming. Today's date is March 11th, 2019 at 6:30. This is the regular city council meeting. Roll call.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Hutchison,
Here.
Councilmember O'Regan,
Here.
Councilmember Carlson,
Here.
Mayor Yoder.
Here. Thank you, Lacey. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? No? All right. So now I'm looking for a approval from the consent agenda from A to F.
I will make that motion.
Second. We have one thing I want to talk about though before we can discuss that later, but I have a motion from Carlson, second from O'Regan. Any discussion? So the discussion on the meal reimbursement. We had apparently some firefighters that went and forgot to bring their slips for reimbursement. So I guess we just want to bring it, make sure we have it to your attention, that is our policy, that they have to have their receipts for us to reimburse them, but it's only, I think it was only like $40 or something. But how do you guys feel? Just go ahead and pay them the $40 and it not happen again, or? And I'm okay with that.
The $40,
For meal reimbursement, you're supposed to have a ticket, actually itemized ticket.
is that total?
I think it was for that day.
Because I know there's a lot of them, $9 and $13 and something like that.
Were you were there? Well, you can.
I wasn't
But you
there.
weren't there.
No, that was Jim. And
He did have a receipt, one in question, well, I guess there's a couple in question, but one of them did have a receipt, but it wasn't itemized.
Okay.
And we've talked about it, and we're not gonna let that happen again.
Okay. I was just gonna say, maybe we could let it slide this time, and you guys maybe in your meeting just bring it up. that
Yep,
you
we've
have to have an
already
itemized thing.
discussed it.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
You guys okay with that? All right, so then then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, summary report for our closed meeting the other night. Was held on February 11th. The closed meeting session was an annual performance evaluation for Chief Jason Borish. Performance was determined to be highly satisfactory, receiving 44.8 out of 56 points. Good job, Jason.
Thank you.
All right. You want to tell me, you want to make a motion to approve the performance evaluation?
So moved.
Motion made by Reagan, looking for a second.
Second.
Second by Johnson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Real quick, you said 44.8?
44 point out of 56.
56. Okay.
Do we have our mics on? I didn't have mine on, I'm the only one.
Check.
Okay, everybody else have theirs on? Okay. All right, the next one is our our annual audit for 2018 financial statement by Schlenner and Wenner, John Archer.
Okay.
John, you're up.
Perfect. Okay to set up here?
You come back up here like you do every year.
Perfect. I always want to make sure, just in case.
Yep, I appreciate you asking, but you're welcome.
Okay, so, just like last year, I'm gonna move your stuff
Yep,
out
go ahead.
here really quick. And I'll put it back, I promise. Just like last year, what I've done is I've taken your audited financial statements, your report to the members of governance, and I've taken them and I've combined them together in kind of a summary. So we're gonna go through the summary, and then if you have any questions beyond that, we'll kind of take a deeper dive into the financials. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect. So we're gonna flip in, and we'll start first by talking about the audit opinion that we give. And so I think you're all pretty well aware of what we do in an audit, how we audit, we won't get into all that. Jumping to the chase here, we give an opinion at the end, right? The opinion we're giving is the same opinion that we've given in the past, and it's an unmodified or clean opinion on what we call the regulatory basis of accounting. Okay, that's the one the state auditor wants you to have because of the size of your city. That's the one that you get. Okay. Okay, and going beyond that, if we talk a little bit about how the audit went, and this specifically would address that smaller packet, the report to the members of governance, the audit went really well. And so here, I would be reporting to you all if we had difficulties working with your management team, came across unusual transactions or fraudulent looking transactions, any red flags, nothing like that at all. The audit went really well. The report does talk about estimates, which you really don't have a lot of, and no new accounting standards adopted this year either. It's a pretty quiet year.
Good.
And talking about how it went with your management team, I mentioned earlier it went well. No difficulties. We didn't feel like they were withholding information from us. We were given all the access that we wanted to. Everything went really smoothly. Okay. In terms of internal controls, you've actually got the same internal control, we call them internal control deficiencies, findings, you can think of them as you have in the past as well. So segregation of duties is one, and you all going through and questioning things helps mitigate that some. So I guess our advice every year is to have some professional skepticism or a watchful eye over things to mitigate it. Otherwise, other things that we have in terms of internal controls is that we all propose adjustments to you during your audit process. And these adjustments are very similar to what we've proposed in the past, mostly what we would call a cash to accrual adjustment for your enterprise type funds. So looking at things like receivables, payables, adjusting your capital assets to what you have for depreciation and that sort of thing. Uncorrected misstatements, there was actually an uncorrected misstatement last year. That'd be something really small that isn't big enough to warrant adjusting the financials for. This year you're seeing the current year effect of that prior year misstatement. So nothing new this year in terms of that. And other internal control related items, we write your financial statements for you. Okay. Another part of the audit is we look at your compliance with Minnesota statutes. And so some examples of that might be we look at how much collateral you have on your bank accounts. Are you bidding the way you're supposed to be bidding? Are you getting quotes when you're supposed to be getting quotes? We have issues with conflicts of interest, that sort of thing, record retention. And so we went through all that information and we had no issues this year related to that either. Okay. Let's look at some numbers here. We're going to start with your general fund. And general fund, the way this is laid out, it's just like last year. We've got 5 years, and then we've got your budgeted information as well. So if we focus on this year in your budget, this year your revenues actually came in about $25,000 higher than what you budgeted for. So revenues were $425,000, your budget was $400,000. And the biggest change there, the biggest delta is going to be some governmental dollars that you received for police aid, and some court fines that you collected. Looking at your spending, you planned on spending $560,000. You actually spent $528,000, so your spending was below budget. Most of that's going to be police related, and specifically payroll related in the police department.
Right.
Beyond that, we've got some other sources and uses. This is mostly transfer type activity. We had a number of transfers coming out. We had some going to debt service. You had set up a new gambling contribution fund, so we shifted some dollars into that for you. Actually, you all shifted some dollars into that. And then you got some money that went into your capital reserve. Overall, you planned on spending down your fund balance by $31,000. You spent it down by $41,000.
Okay.
Ending fund balance in the general fund, $769,000 at the end of the year. If we look at that as relative to the size of your general fund, it works out to be about 126% of a year's expenditures. Went down a little bit mostly because that's spend down. There's a comment on this page that says you don't have a minimum fund balance policy. If you got a pen in front of you, you can cross that out because you actually do. Your policy is a minimum of 50% of your next year's budget expenditures, so you're well beyond that. And in terms of cash, you're seeing the same effects of that spend down. Ending cash is $771,000 at December 31st. Okay, this page shows the remaining governmental type funds, and so what we've done is we've taken your fire fund and your capital reserve, and we've split them apart, and then the remaining funds, we've kind of combined them together because they're a little bit smaller. So looking at fire fund first, fire revenues came in at $117,000. You spent $76,000. You actually had a transfer into the capital reserve of $17,500. So overall, your fund balance in the fire fund increased $23,000. And that has an ending fund balance of $240,000 at the end of the year. Capital reserve, most of the activity here is spending and transfers coming in. So the biggest transfers coming from the general fund, but you also have that money coming from the fire fund as well. That fund ended the year pretty close to break even, about $2,000 increase in your fund balance. Debt service is the next area. We've kind of combined all those together. Not a lot to say there. Fund balance increased just about $10,000. And then the non-major special revenue fund, the reality here is most of this is your street improvement fund. And that had the collective funds had an increase of fund balance of $106,000. Also included in here is your new gambling contribution fund that you set aside this year. Fund balance collectively there is $624,000. Okay. Looking at cash. Cash position increased generally for all these funds. About $1.2 million sitting in debt service, about $241,000 sitting in the remaining funds. Okay. We're gonna look at your enterprise funds here. So we'll start with water. And water's kind of had a trend going on here where if you look at the visual on this page, you can see your expenditures have gone up. The reality here is that when you built your new water plant, your depreciation expense went up significantly. That's really what's driving that increase primarily. If you were to go back in time to 2015 to 2016, there's about $100,000 more depreciation from that plant. So you have to keep that in mind a little bit when you're looking at these numbers. Water fund as a whole this year had a decrease in net position of $91,000. There was $248,000 of depreciation. So if you added that back, you'd be looking at basically positive cash flow of about $150,000 in that fund. And looking at sewer fund did pretty well this year. You had operating income of $131,000. After you have your transfers, your assessments coming in, that had an increase in net position of $48,000. Ending net position is $3.1 million. You can see that your revenues increased pretty significantly this year. Expenditures were relatively level. Solid waste fund had a decrease in net position of about $1,400, which is not unusual for this fund. Last year was kind of an anomaly, and that's mostly because there wasn't any transfers out last year. But you did transfer out $4,000 to the general fund, and that that's what drove that fund down to have a negative change this year. Ending net position's $13,000. And in terms of cash, we've got increases in cash position other than the water fund. So sewer fund had just about $1.8 million in cash at the end of the year. Water fund has been spending down the cash a little bit year after year. That ended the year at $862,000. And solid waste is pretty steady at $9,400. Looking at your debt, this is categorized with governmental funds, which is a smaller number, the blue line, and business type debt, which is the red line. Business type debt, this is primarily water, is $4.8 million. Governmental debt's $1.6 million. So you spent down your business type debt by about $350,000 this year, just your normal principal payments. Governmental debt was spent down or paid down about $160,000. So you're making progress on paying down your debt. Good to see. If you all remember last year, we had a management letter, management advice comment to you all that was related to adopting a policy for forfeited police property. You all implemented that, and so that dropped off your audit this year. And this year we don't have any new comments for you. Everything looked really good.
Perfect. So our employees are good employees.
Yeah.
Exactly.
From an audit standpoint, they're doing what they need to be doing. So I guess in a nutshell, you had a pretty clean audit year. Everything went really well.
Good.
Questions at all? You want to start on page 1 in the big book?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, let's pick it out.
I think you could go to a different room. No, thank you.
Wait, no.
That's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks a million.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
All right. John, should we be making a motion to accept your audit
Yeah.
report? Okay. Looking for a motion to accept the audit report as read. Okay, motion made by O'Regan,
Second.
second by Johnson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So now that you've accepted it, we'll send it off to the state tomorrow morning.
Perfect,
Get it all taken care of for you.
perfect. Thanks for making it nice and clear for us. Appreciate
You
it.
bet, absolutely.
Thank you.
John,
Thanks
if you
again.
want this stuff.
What's that?
No, that's ours.
Nope,
Oh,
that's,
okay, that's-
yep. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, departments, let's go to planning and zoning.
Planning and zoning doesn't have anything actionable.
Okay. We have nothing for the building department, so we'll go fire.
Fire department had 10 calls last month, 8 being medicals and 2 were fires. And up there somewhere is a picture of the new truck that I had talked about last month. We spent some time, we've got it pretty close to being all totally spec'd out. They gave us a soft number of $299,200 for purchase price. But there is some cost saving opportunities there. We aren't required to put any money down on it. It'll take 14 months to build. But if we do pay for the chassis up front, there's some cost savings there. And then at the end of, when we receive the truck, there would be a 2% rebate from Sourcewell. And after April 15th of this year, prices will increase between 3 to 5%.
How much is 2% from $299?
$6,000.
Okay.
What's the approximate cost saving on the chassis?
He didn't give me a number, that will be included in the hard number that if you choose to go forward with this, he'll bring us a hard number, and then we'll enter into a contract with them to build it, and that number would be in that bid.
Now, is there a waiting, do they have a warranty? They obviously have a warranty on that, but is there a waiting period to like 4 months or something, or 3 months for you to use it before they have to fully pay for it, or is it, how do they do that?
Yeah, I think you pay for it upon delivery, but
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that, I can find that out.
And the way he explained it the other day was it's not like the truck as a whole doesn't have a warranty, but the chassis has like a 10-year warranty, and then for the tank holder,
I have it here, the pump here has a 5-year warranty, the plumbing has a 10-year warranty, and the chassis has a 1-year bumper-to-bumper warranty, so. There's a lot of warranties, but they're all broke down into little pieces.
And when we have the money all set up for this? In the fire
It's actually,
fund?
so,
That's part of the later discussion, I guess, about transferring some funds
Okay.
between the fire fund currently and what they've already set aside in the capital projects fund and the transfers we had discussed previously. Yes, they're roughly $300,000 available to spend on the truck.
And then with this being 14 months out, that would put us in the next year's budget actually too, so.
Are you getting rid of one of the trucks then, or
Yeah,
which one are you guys getting rid of?
that old cab over.
Oh, the Mac?
Yep.
Cool. So what do you need from us? Just that we're in favor to move on to get the final?
Yep, and then what I'd like to do is bring him to the meeting next month with his hard numbers and the contract and have you look it over and hopefully get signed into a contract before April 15th if you choose to do that.
So I would say if you guys decide to move forward today, give approval to have that contract sent over to me earlier so we can have it reviewed
Right.
by either the league and or our attorney before the meeting, so you could approve the contract right away at the meeting.
Okay. So do we want to make a motion to go ahead and have him give us a hard number for this truck? And then make sure that the contract gets sent early enough so Lacey can do the research to make sure that it's the way we want it.
and this would be taking advantage of that pre-buying the chassis or whatever, right?
Yes.
And the 2% or the 2% doesn't matter?
The 2% comes after the purchase.
Yep,
It
that's
doesn't matter,
right.
is it done now or is it done 2 months from now or no? You know?
The 2%, no.
Right, okay.
That we
It's
will,
just the
we're
chassis.
using one of the Sourcewell contracted vendors. So that's
Oh.
how we get the 2% back, is off of their cooperative purchasing. In the state, there is no state bid on the fire trucks, but the company they're
Right.
going through has a bid through the cooperative purchasing, which can be used in lieu of the state bid.
Okay.
So we don't have to, basically Sourcewell will put it out for bid for us. And if another manufacturer can come up with the exact same specifications, they can bid the same price.
Okay.
Or they can bid on the price if they would choose to. Usually it ends up, this is the one we get.
Okay.
So if he sends over everything beforehand to check it out, would that be just checking the legality of the contract itself or the equipment?
I'm talking about the contract
Right.
part of it.
Just the contract? Okay.
The equipment, the thing with equipment is none of us know anything about it.
Right.
You really, we're gonna have to rely on them guys to make sure it is what they want it,
Right.
so.
Did you say the price goes up at some point now?
April 15th, they're expecting a price increase of 3 to 5%.
So we need to have this wrapped up by the next meeting, because it's only 1 week before the 15th.
Right. Well, I think that should be doable, you know, if we
Get
both get the contract here for the next meeting, then we should be able to approve it.
Yeah.
Do you see anything that would hinder us from that?
No, as long as I can get the contract in time.
Right.
And hopefully the
Um,
league can do it for me instead of going through our attorney, but.
I'm sure he's got a copy of it already. You know,
Yeah,
it's not a matter of just printing it out.
Exactly.
He was ready to have one for me tonight, and I
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to hold off, so.
Okay. All right, does somebody wanna make that motion?
I will make that motion.
Okay, motion made by Steve, looking for a second.
I would second that.
Second by Hutchinson. Any more discussion?
I don't know if I should refrain from this.
It's been a conflict of interest for you, but you're not getting no money out of it, right?
No.
If you have a no, then we'll worry about it. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you for bringing it up, though. Yep.
And then, I have a request for an extension of medical leave for a firefighter. He was off on medical leave, re-injured himself, and he has a doctor's excuse to be off for an additional 3 months.
Okay. Okay, looking for a motion to approve that.
I would make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion made by Hutchison, second by Carlson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, anybody have any other concerns for the fire department? How are we standing for firefighters? Still at on at 15?
Yeah, we're right around there. We have one starting next month, and then I'm expecting a couple of them to be back off of their leaves of
Oh.
absence.
That's true, we had quite a few out.
We have a military guy that should be back any day, and another one that's probably gonna be on summer break from school and coming back, so.
Okay, cool.
So I think we're sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Police department, Jason.
Okay, monthly report, we had 90 calls for the month. Brings us to a total of 141. It was called out from home 3 times throughout the month, and between Josh and I, we put in 51 hours at the school this month. Unless anybody has any questions on that. The only other thing I have is a policy written up regarding video surveillance systems to be used on city properties. We discussed it back in December, purchasing surveillance system for inside the use of City Hall here, as well as the one down at Larry Converse Park. So got a policy written up. Should cover all of our bases. Just looking for an approval for that to add to our policy manual.
Did you, I know normally we had the attorney review it, but is this something that you copied off of like the league post board or anything like that?
I kind of took bits and pieces from multiple different policies and put it all together so that it would custom fit our city.
Okay. Lacey, did you read this at all? Looks good?
Yeah, I did read through it. It hasn't been, I didn't do any research on it or anything like that, but I didn't see any red flags at all.
Perfect.
I read through it also, I didn't see anything.
Perfect. Somebody wanna make a motion on this?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made by O'Regan. Looking for a second?
I will second that.
Second by Carlson. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right.
And that's all I've got unless anybody else has any other concerns or comments.
You have anything for the police department?
Tell Josh thank you. When Jordan went in the ditch, he got behind and it was,
Give them the lights.
yep, gave him some lights, and so that was really nice.
Josh is working out good so far?
Yes, yep, it's working out very well.
Okay, good. All right, anybody have anything else? All right, so then we go to Public Works, Bruce.
Okay, page 19 is on the report. If you have any questions on it.
Perfect.
If not, next item I got is, we're gonna paint the wire tower, we should probably start deciding on the color pretty soon. I threw a couple options out, but we got kind of a chart if we had other ideas.
You see this?
kinda threw it together with our logo on it to kinda see how it stood out, or not, or as the case may be. So maybe, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but we can start thinking about it at least, I guess.
Is it 3 colors you got here,
I just got, yeah, I threw, white and a
White.
cloud and blue.
or? Okay.
The blue I suspect is a lot like Randall's new color or color they have on theirs. Probably fade over time, but
So it's this one in the blue, and what was the
This one
other?
here.
one's a little bit more
Take a
tan.
little bit tanner.
Oh,
Oh, I thought they were the same.
Yeah,
no.
that's a little lighter.
No, Bruce, they are gonna sandblast the current blue off, right?
On the inside, yeah, actually the other blue will be in it. They're just gonna do the spots that need it and overcoat the outside.
Okay.
Yep.
So if we went with the blue again, would we get any, would it be beneficial in any way?
They didn't seem to think so because they're
Okay.
gonna be covering it up unless we have a failure and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna be a failure no matter what, so.
The only good thing about this, honestly, is that it's kind of an icon. I mean, people talk about the Motley Blue Water Tower. When they come over the hill and see the Motley Blue Water Tower, you know? I suppose we could change it to White Water Tower.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, I mean, it's,
I think the logo shows up best on the white.
it does show better on the white.
oh, yeah.
But then your dirt's gonna show up better on the white too, and the tan would probably be a little bit less, but.
The logo will probably be a little smaller letters. Right now, they're about 6 foot tall on there, so if we go with this new logo, we might need it to pop a little more if we want to.
Right.
Otherwise, we could always go back to block, but that was kind of what we talked about in the beginning, was going to the new logo, so.
Is there any benefit for you that you can see for like, for, that it helps with the winter for like heat and ice, you know, like freezing if it's like a darker color versus a white color?
No, I think we're probably better off to stick with white, or in a lighter color probably. If you go darker, we might have more problems in the summertime with.
Right, because of heat.
Yeah. We do have enough turnover, that's probably not a real big issue either way, but.
I know some towns had problems this year. Their water towers.
In the summertime,
No, in the winter.
winter, freezing,
Really?
yeah.
Yeah,
We have recirculator pumps and.
but you get
pretty
enough,
much-
they get enough usage, you would never have a problem.
Yeah, we empty at least a half to 2/3 every day, except for Christmas.
How do you guys feel about colors?
I kinda like the tan one.
We're all gonna have different ideas. You watch. Pat likes the white.
I like the white one.
I'm the blue.
Oh, don't make me the deciding factor.
No, we got Steve yet.
Oh, okay. I really don't have a preference. I do like them all. I don't know. I don't know if I like the idea of the white. I like the blue and the tan maybe, but
I personally like the tan. I think looks good and the Motley does show up definitely better.
Bruce, you're still gonna have the Motley on each side, right?
Yes.
So this is just the logo. I love the logo on the front, it looks nice.
Yeah, it looks really
Yeah.
sharp. I just went on their website and punched this stuff in to kind of give us a rough idea of what it would, you know.
so the logo will be this size.
Not necessarily
Oh,
exactly, I just,
okay.
they only let you put one thing on there, so
Oh.
it's just more to give you a visual what it could look like of them colors and the logo that we have.
I like the blue, just because of the,